running definition. It kind of changes. But I think this afternoon, I feel like I've landed on the definition that, not this is a complete definition, but worship is something your heart does. You know, but if your heart's doing it, then the rest of you is gonna respond, you know. It's very often we look on the surface, you know, and we like to correct the surface and fix this. You do that right. If you raise your hands, if you sing, if you show up at church, if you know what I mean? But I think it's a heart condition, and then your actions reflect that heart condition, not the other way around. I think sometimes we get ambitious as Christians. We want to see everyone do right, so we try and bring from the outside to make them do what they're supposed to do. And that's called the law. Try to impose on them from the outside, you know, when really Jesus wants to impose upon you on the inside. Let's write the law on the heart. I'm not saying we don't need boundaries. Boundaries are great. I need boundaries to keep me away from the fridge at night. Oh, it's a long conversation. So, I wrote this song. I was actually in Culver City, California when I started writing the song. Originally it was called Culver City Blues. I think originally it was called Santa Monica Blues, and my buddy told me that was cheesy, and I had to choose that. I thought Santa Monica was pretty cool, but apparently there are other songs written about Santa Monica. That's not allowed to impose on that. But I was sitting in this hotel in Culver City, and I heard the traffic going by in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep because I just couldn't get over this sort of humanity, you know, just being right there next to the traffic, and just there's a person in every car that went by, you know, and a different person every time I heard the car. It felt like a sea, almost like I was on the shore of humanity, and the cars sounded like the ocean, and I felt really insignificant, and I felt kind of like a waste of time, to be honest. Anyway, so I started thinking about this Bible story of a guy who, if he had a more marketable name, he'd be in all the kids' books, but his name was Mephibosheth. So he didn't make it in there with Noah and Jonah. Because his name was hard to pronounce, so he didn't make all the kids' books. So you don't learn about him when you're growing up, so most Christians don't know who he is. There's a story in the Old Testament. King David loved Jonathan. I'm going to try and make this real fast. King David loved Jonathan. They were buddies, but Jonathan died. And the king apparently would think about Jonathan a lot. And someone said, well, I wish I could do something for Jonathan, but he's gone. And he said, well, does Jonathan have any kids? And they searched and said, yeah, he's got a son. His name is Mephibosheth. When the power was changing hands, his nanny ran to escape and dropped him, and he broke both of his legs. And he said he's been crippled his whole life. He says, David said, well, by all means, bring the young man to the table and let him sit at the table and let him eat with the king, the mighty men and the mighty women, the beautiful women, the smart people, the rich people, the wealthy people, the people who had won wars and thought of great things. And he gets to sit there with them. There's many amazing things here. Number one, that you know, sometimes, especially that night in Culver City, I feel crippled by a fall that I had nothing to do with. Right? But because of who my Father is, I get to sit at the table like I'm something special. Right? With all the great people have nothing to offer. But I get to sit at the table because of who my dad is, who my father is. Here's the amazing thing. When you dress Mephibosheth up, you sit him at the table that covers up his legs. So when he sits at the table, he is one of the mighty men. He is one of the great, one of the strong, one of the wealthy. Anyway, this is kind of about that. It's called Carbon Ribs.